Are you struggling with your freestyle breathing? Think your technique is solid, you're reasonably fit, but the moment you swim more than a length, you're gasping for air, your heart's pounding, and you're wondering, can swimming really be this hard? And you're not alone. And no, it's not just a fitness problem. I've worked with hundreds of swimmers and triathletes who thought they just weren't fit enough. But the real issue wasn't lung capacity. It was their brain's response to breathing in the water. Subconscious instincts overriding their ability to fully exhale and inhale, cutting off the oxygen supply that fuels efficient freestyle. Most advice out there focuses on surface level timing cues, but that's not what really fixes freestyle breathing. The real problem lies deeper: how your nervous system responds to being in the water. I'm Eetu Karvonen, and in this video, I'll help you retrain that response so you can stop gasping, start breathing freely, and feel smoother, calmer, and more in control every time you swim. We'll cover the real cause of your breathing struggles, show you what efficient breathing actually feels like, and walk through 3 exercises that can transform how you breathe and move in freestyle. And if you want to go even deeper across every stroke, download my free ebook, Principles of Master Swimming. It covers breathing, technique, and how to connect skill work with real performance training. Links in the description. Let's get started. Breathing is the elixir of life, and in swimming, it's also the first limiting factor in learning efficient freestyle. That's why my very first extra bonus tip is simple: get a snorkel and feel zero shame on using it while learning your freestyle. And here's why. If you constantly start for air, you're seriously slowing down your learning. When your body is fighting for oxygen, it's not focusing on learning stroke mechanics, it's just trying to survive. Especially for beginners, this is huge. You need to separate learning to stroke from learning to breathe. Only when you build both skills independently and feel confident should you start integrating them. Learning is about repetitions, and if lack of oxygen stops you with your focus, you are not building efficient movement. Instead, you are learning fear-based patterns. The water becomes a threat, and the breath becomes a gamble, and your brain starts to associate swimming with danger and discomfort. Is there anything more damaging for learning than that? And that fear response may be deeply wired, but it's completely trainable. And what we want to teach your body is the exact opposite. You want to learn to trust the water, to develop bodily knowledge that tells you, I can breathe as deeply as I need to anytime I choose, even in motion. And that leads us to the first lesson. Freestyle breathing has technique involved, but it is relatively simple to learn. What makes it hard to master is our subconscious. You see, your so-called primitive brain is constantly scanning the environment for threats, and access to oxygen sits right at the top of its priority list. And that's why, from the very beginning, we need to predispose the brain only to positive experiences around breathing in the water. Not stress, not panic, and not fight or flight. So whatever you're doing in the water, especially early on, make sure your body and brain experience breathing as free, easy, and safe. So avoid drills or training that leaves you gasping or coughing water out of your lungs. That just wires your brain to see water as dangerous and breathing as something that is unreliable. If you've been swimming for years and haven't figured out how to breathe calmly and confidently, you've likely hardwired subconscious fear into your freestyle breathing. But don't worry, that fear can be rewired into a calm, automatic breathing pattern by going through the exercise progressions explained in this video. It might feel like taking a big step backwards in your training, like going back to swim lessons. And you know what? That's exactly what it is. Because if you want the freedom to take full inhales of oxygen and release carbon dioxide through long, relaxed exhales while you swim, you got to reteach your nervous system that breathing in the water isn't just possible, it's completely safe. So if you came to this video looking for one more cue about when to turn your head or how wide your mouth should be when you breathe, I'm sorry to disappoint. Because while that stuff can be useful, once you already know how to breathe, for most swimmers, it's just useless, extraneous noise. We're not here to manage symptoms. We're here to fix the root cause of why breathing feels so damn hard for you. And once you remove that survival threat, everything else starts to fall into place automatically. Because chances are you already know what to do. You just can't do it yet. But once your brain no longer sees breathing as a threat, things start to click. You stop pressing your hand into the water to lift your head. You stop leading the breath with your face. You stop over-rotating with your head. Instead, the head rotation begins to follow the rotation of the body, and your head settles naturally into that optimal low-profile position. One goggle in, one goggle out. Why? Because you've established safety in the water. You're no longer acting out of instinct, and that's when you finally begin to breathe, deliberately, fully, and with control. Now that you understand the real cause behind your breathing struggles, let's begin retraining your nervous system, starting with exercise number 1, alligator breathing. And this one alone might be enough for many of you. The goal of this exercise is to teach your brain that breathing at the boundary layer between air and water is completely safe, and to expose you to the reality that when you're breathing low in freestyle, some water will get into your mouth and you can still get a full breath. And here's how to start. Head to the shallow end of the pool or even the kids' pool. Plant your feet firmly to the bottom and then descend your mouth right to the water surface and start breathing normally. Pay attention to your body as you are breathing deeply. Do you notice any tension or hesitation? Do you feel limited in how deeply you want to breathe just because your mouth is close to the water? That's your primitive brain sounding the alarms, telling you it's not safe and urging you to stand up and stay away from the water's surface, even though consciously you know there's no difference between breathing with 1 centimeter or 1 meter of air between your mouth and the water. And once you're calm there, it's time for the next step. And this might feel a bit uncomfortable at first. Lower yourself a little further until a small amount of water enters your mouth, and keep breathing deeply. Exhale with a relaxed sigh, inhale fully through the diaphragm, and just calm everything down. Let your brain experience that nothing bad happens, and do not give me any excuses of not wanting water in your mouth here, because if you want to breathe efficiently in freestyle, you're going to get some water in your mouth. So better to train your brain now to stay calm when that eventually happens. Some individuals' brains are crafty. Because your nose is still in the air, you may default to inhaling through the nose instead of the mouth. But there's an easy solution. Just pinch your nose with your fingers and focus entirely on calm, deep mouth breathing. And since this video is about freestyle, eventually you should start doing this exercise in a horizontal position, breathing from the side. And then progress into a classic learn to swim exercise of blowing bubbles into the water while looking at the bottom of the pool and rotating your head just enough to get a breath alligator style from the side. And that's not all. Once you're confident with your feet planted, start doing the same thing while floating and moving, gently sculling or kicking while breathing from the front or the side, just like an alligator stalking its prey. Now that your brain is starting to feel safe near the surface, it's time to raise the stakes a bit. In step 2, we start amplifying the threat by fully releasing our breath and then inhaling again low in the water, using a drill called exhale bottom drops. And the idea is simple. Float horizontally on the surface and begin to slowly release your air. ideally through both your nose and mouth, just like you would during the exhale in freestyle, because you're also reinforcing the correct trickling exhale pattern used during efficient freestyle breathing. As the air leaves your lungs, you'll begin to sink. And here's the challenge. Instead of tensing up or resisting the drop, relax into that sinking sensation. Your goal is to fully empty your lungs and let your body settle gently towards the bottom. Whether you reach the bottom or not isn't the point. What matters is this. If you feel panic before you get there, you've just uncovered one of the main reasons your freestyle breathing feels so hard. You're likely not exhaling enough between breaths, and that leaves you gasping and swimming with stale air in your lungs. And now, once you're at the bottom or near it, hang out for a moment until you feel a slight discomfort. And here's an important side note. This isn't a breath-holding drill, so don't treat it like one. There's no benefit to staying down too long, and pushing it can be dangerous. When you feel the urge to breathe, gently scull or kick your way back to the surface. And here's the key part. The moment you resurface, go straight back into your alligator breathing, either facing forward or to the side. Breathe calmly and deeply, even if every cell in your body is screaming for air and your brain wants you to lift your head to make sure that the water surface doesn't inhibit oxygen delivery. That shift from discomfort to control is exactly the nervous system training we're after. The goal here is to teach your brain that even after a full exhale and a moment underwater, you can return to calm, controlled, low-profile breathing without any panic. And this is one of the best ways to train your body and brain to accept that you get just as much of air at the boundary layer as you do with the big head lift. And it's a critical skill whenever you're getting wiped out during a hard set at the pool or swimming in a rough terrain in open water. In those moments, it makes far more sense to breathe low and conserve energy, rather than react instinctively with big head lifts and panicked, inefficient movements, which unfortunately is exactly what you see most swimmers doing when they're under pressure. Okay, if the first two exercises were universal breathing education for all strokes, this last one ties everything together and applies it directly to freestyle. It teaches the exact rhythm and mechanics of freestyle breathing. You might understand how breathing should work on an intellectual level, but unless you nail the connection to body rotation and breathe low, you simply won't get a full breath. The drill is called arms down rotation breathing, and here's how to do it. Start by kicking slowly with your arms down at your sides. Normally, we want the arms relaxed, but here you should glue them to your hips because we want to avoid any help from your arms. Then start rotating your body to either side and take a breath, just like in freestyle. Here's where this exercise shines. If you lift your head or mistime the head turn, you will feel your body sink. And with no front arm to support your balance, you'll miss the breath. And that's the whole point. Let the exercise teach you. Just notice your instincts to kick harder or sneak in a scull with your hands and resist it. You need to find a way to breathe without any other part of your body helping you out. Start out slowly and speed it up as you become more aware of how your head and body rotation work together. And you'll quickly realize that those endless mechanical descriptions and cues you heard were just unnecessary noise. Because there are really only two things that matter in a good freestyle breath. 1. Actually getting a deep breath, which means trickling out enough air, maybe about 40% of your lung volume, before you turn your head to inhale. And 2. Taking that breath in a way that barely disrupts your balance or body line in the water, so your rhythm and pull stays the same, breath or no breath. And now, I can't tell you whether you should breathe earlier or later, but arms down rotation breathing can. So let it teach you by feel, by feedback, by the reality of whether you get a full breath or not. Now that you got the tools to fix the root cause of your inefficient breathing in freestyle, the natural question is, how do you actually include these into your training? If you're a beginner, or if breathing is still a major limiter for you, I recommend separating your breathing practice from your main swimming sets. Start every session with 10 to 15 minutes of focused work. Alternate between alligator breathing, exhale bottom drops, and arms down rotation breathing. Then mix in short sections of full stroke swimming to immediately begin transferring those breathing improvements into your actual full freestyle. Then, when it's time for your main physiological sets, put on a snorkel. At this stage, you don't want mixed signals or stress responses interfering with your stroke development. Let the body learn movement efficiency while you teach the nervous system that breathing in the water is safe, calm, and controlled. And as your breathing improves, or if you already feel fairly confident with it, start layering these exercises into the main body of your practice. So instead of just passively resting on the wall between reps, like in a set of hundreds with 30 seconds of rest, use that time for breathing practice. So as soon as you finish a rep, go straight into alligator breathing. And if you want a true test of your ability to override your primitive brain's alarm bells, take a few deep breaths, then drop to the bottom on an exhale before starting your next rep. And of course, a combination of stationary breathing drills and arms down rotation breathing should remain a staple of your technical warm-up activities. Because when you fix your breathing, everything else starts to open up. Instead of swimming in survival mode, you start feeling the water. Your entire experience changes, and suddenly it becomes so much easier to focus on the rest of your stroke. So stop wasting precious mental bandwidth just trying to get oxygen. Learn how to breathe with control instead of reacting out of panic. And if you want help dialing in your breathing or improving any other aspect of your swimming, check out my one-on-one coaching. We'll start with a free 30-minute Zoom call to figure out exactly how I can help you move forward. The link to apply is in the description. And if you haven't seen it yet, check out my last video. This one position can make you faster without swimming harder, because body position and breathing go hand in hand. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.